Every night at exactly 3:13 a.m., my phone would ring. At first, I thought it was just a strange coincidence, a random call, a technical problem, something that could easily be explained. But the truth was much worse. The number calling me was my own number. I remember the first time it happened. I was sitting alone in my bedroom trying to sleep when the sound of my phone suddenly filled the silence. I looked at the screen, expecting to see an unknown number. Instead, I saw my own name. For a few seconds, I just stared at it. My first thought was that someone had hacked my phone. Maybe it was some kind of strange glitch. Then I answered. There was no one speaking, only silence. A few seconds passed. Then I heard something that made my entire body freeze. A voice. My voice. It was a whisper, barely loud enough to understand. It said, "Don't go back to the house." Then the call ended. I spent the rest of the night awake, trying to convince myself that there had to be a normal explanation. But deep down, I already knew something was wrong. My name is Daniel, and this happened 3 years ago, after I inherited my grandmother's old house. The house was located in a small village far away from the city. It had belonged to my family for generations, but nobody had lived there for almost 15 years. After my grandmother passed away, the house became mine. I had never spent much time there when I was younger. I only remembered a few things about it. The old wooden floors, the large windows, and the strange feeling that someone was always watching from somewhere inside. When I arrived, the house looked exactly how I remembered it, old, quiet, and forgotten. The neighbors were friendly, but whenever I mentioned the house, their expressions changed. One evening, while I was carrying some boxes inside, an old man from the village stopped near the gate. He looked at the house for a long time before speaking. Then he said, "Some places remember what happened inside them." I laughed because I thought he was just trying to scare me. I never believed in ghosts or supernatural stories. I was the kind of person who always looked for logical explanations. But after moving into that house, I started questioning everything I believed. A few days after arriving, I began cleaning the rooms. In the attic, I found several boxes filled with old family photographs. Most of them showed my grandmother, my parents, and relatives I had never met. But one photograph immediately caught my attention. It showed the house from many years ago. My grandmother was standing in front of it, but she wasn't alone. There was someone standing beside her. The strange thing was that the person's face had been completely scratched away. Someone had intentionally destroyed it. I turned the photograph around, hoping to find a date or some explanation. On the back, there were only 4 words written in old handwriting. "He is still waiting." I had no idea who he was. I put the photograph away and tried to forget about it. But 3 nights later, at exactly 3:13 a.m., my phone rang again. The same number, my number. This time, I didn't answer immediately. I watched the screen until the ringing stopped. A few seconds later, a notification appeared. I had received a voicemail. My hands were shaking as I pressed play. At first, there was only static. Then, I heard breathing, slow, heavy, and then my own voice whispered, "You need to leave before he finds you." I dropped the phone. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, I decided to check the house carefully. I searched every room, every corner, every place where someone could possibly hide. But I found nothing. I almost convinced myself that someone was playing a cruel joke on me. Until the following night. At 3:13 a.m., my phone rang again. This time, I answered immediately. The voice said only one sentence. "The basement door is open." I looked toward the hallway. My heart stopped. The basement door was open. I was certain I had locked it before going to sleep. Slowly, I walked toward it. The air became colder with every step. I turned on the light and walked downstairs. At the bottom of the stairs, hidden behind some old boxes, I found a small wooden case. Inside was an old phone. A very old phone. But what scared me the most was not the phone itself, but the terrifying part was that it looked exactly like mine. Same model, same color, even the same small scratch on the back. The phone turned on by itself. There was only one saved contact. My name. I opened the call history. There were hundreds of calls, all made from my number. The oldest one was dated 15 years ago, the same year my grandmother left the house. That was the moment I understood. My grandmother wasn't afraid of the house, she was afraid of something inside it. That night, I packed my things and decided to leave forever. But before I reached the front door, my phone rang one last time, 3:13 a.m. I didn't want to answer, but I did. This time, the voice wasn't mine. It was my grandmother. She whispered, "I'm sorry I couldn't protect you." Then, the call ended. I ran away from that house and never returned. For a long time, I tried to forget everything. I told myself there was a logical explanation, but 1 year later, something happened. At exactly 3:13 a.m., my phone rang again. The caller was my own number. I answered, and I heard my voice say, "You forgot something in the house." The next morning, I searched for information about the old house, and that's when I discovered the truth. The house had burned down 6 months earlier. Nobody lived there anymore. There was no basement, no phone, nothing. But somehow, something from that house was still trying to contact me. And even today, every night at 3:13 a.m., I still look at my phone because I'm afraid that one day I will answer the call again.